there's liable to be more talk around here this week about their band and their football team, and just do you foresee any problem at all getting these guys cranked and ready to go against Grambling? Is that?
We worry about it every week. We worry about it, just everything going on outside of football. But as a coaching staff, that's we take that on. It's our responsibility, and the captains and the older players on this team, that's their responsibility. We have to keep the guys focused, and it's an ongoing battle. I mean, you work it every day because you're dealing with 18, 19, 20, 21, 22-year-olds that are away from home for the first time in their life. So we work them every day, but we show them the tape and implement a game plan and try to do the best we can during the week as a staff of keeping them focused.
The fact this is the last non-conference game before Big 12, does that play into it a little bit as well?
I don't know. Probably not. I'd like to agree with you.
For you, getting your team as close as you possibly can to what you want them to be heading into conference play?
I mean, every week's the same for me, Robert. I mean, I'm going to do I have the same routine and put in the same hours. And we went home last night at the same time we did when we played Missouri, who was ranked third in the country last year. So it's not any different for us.
Coach, is there kind of a snowball effect offensively? I think you've averaged about 3 to 3.5 yards per first down rush. But as that jumps where it did last year to maybe 5 yards on first down when you run it, does that have a snowball effect in that it kind of gets the offense cranked up and gives you more options?
Well, anytime you're in a 2nd and 6 or less, you have more options as a play caller. You just play the percentages, and unless you're trying to offset tendencies, your percentages are that if you block something effectively, you should get 3.5 yards. And if you average that by 2 more times, then you're going to be close to a first down. So percentages say yes.
Andrew said, Mike, offensive line, he had to describe it in one word. What would that word be right now? He said frustrated. So do you think frustration, I know you talked about the guards and them getting acclimated to things here, but frustrated, you might assume that he can see that you're not that far off. Do you think you're that far off?
Oh, I think he's just tired of Wick yelling at him, to be quite honest with you. We've had a number of guys that had been here 3 years and had settled in, and so from a coaching standpoint, there's a comfort zone there. And then, Andrew was used to being next to David and Denning, and then you had Russ and Bond, and they were there for a long time, so they can talk to themselves almost without talking and communicate and use hand signals, and they understand. But when you put 2 new guys in there, it's new. I mean, it's just like if you go with your camera crew and you have a guy that's not been to game day and you want him to be in a certain place at a certain time and he's not there, you want to know why. It's because he hadn't done it before. So it is a little different. I don't think they're frustrated at the results. I think they just want more performance. One, as I mentioned earlier in the running game, because, see, they like to be able to hang their hat on the run. They take a lot of pride in that. And because our average per carry hadn't been what we'd want it to be, they probably know more about it than I do. They get a little frustrated at that because they see how close they are to getting it done. But you go through some growing pains when you have some new players. You don't talk about linemen a lot. People talk about quarterbacks. They talk about safeties. But linemen is just as important from an experience standpoint.
In seeing the tape yesterday, and you talked a little bit on the Sunday teleconference, you thought that Lane played pretty well.
Sure did.
Game at that level.
For his first game as a freshman, redshirt freshman playing at this level, we thought he played fairly well. Now, he made mistakes, and he wasn't as physical as we wanted him to be, but it's also first time he played at this level. So with all that being said, that we were happy with his performance, but he still has a long way to go.
Could be the answer, though, that you were looking for?
You'd have to ask Coach Wick that. I don't really get into that.
You said Saturday and again today that you felt like Zach Robinson played better after watching the film. What did you like?
Well, I thought he made good decisions and he ran the ball effectively. I would have liked for him to make that guy miss over on their sideline that one time in the open field. I thought if he could have made him miss, he'd have probably scored. But he pulled the ball at the right time, made good decisions in the read zone running game. That's very important for him because that's his strength in our running game, is when to pull it and take off. And against Houston, we put the ball on the ground a couple times. and you take yourself out of a game. I've said this many times. People don't want to hear it, but unless you're a lot better than the other team, if you turn the ball over 2 or 3 times more than they do in a game, you're going to have a hard time winning.
Do you have an idea yet just what this defense is? Because Georgia's done really well since they left here offensively, and your defense has not played up to that since that game.
Yeah, it's interesting. We talk about matchups and parity today in college football, and I have not seen Georgia play since we played them. I've seen a few highlights, and then I haven't seen any highlights of the Arkansas game, but I heard conversation in the hallway last night at the football office that since we've played them, people have declined to run the ball much or throwing a lot of passes. And so my guess would be on tape they saw number 35 for Georgia hit you in the mouth a lot in the running game and thought that that'd be probably a difficult thing to handle, and so they're throwing a lot of passes. There is some youth and some inexperience somewhat at their corner spot, and maybe they're attacking them. I mean, it's really hard for me to say. So it's making the comparison to what's happening in the South Carolina game and the Arkansas game to our defense is really hard. Each week it's just so different, Dave, nowadays. How do you match up at corner and safety and backer compared to their skill guys? And then can you get any pressure on the quarterback? I think they're getting better. I think they're understanding the system. I think the players are giving effort. It's really important to us that they give great effort. I've said that a lot, and I know nobody wants to hear that, but they're running to the football and giving us effort. We had some mistakes a couple weeks ago and got out of our gap, and that caused or it allowed the other team to get a number of big plays. 8, 10, 12-yard runs and some passes. And each week you have to correct those mistakes in order to get better, and I think that we corrected mistakes from the week before last Saturday.
Along those lines, Markel played his first game last Saturday. Seemed to play pretty well, got some big hits in. He said out there he's been disappointed because all the safeties have not been together in one game yet. And you had two that had to sit out. He thinks you get all 4 of those guys together in one game, with fresh legs. He said we'll make a big difference.
You can play them 35 or 40 plays a game instead of 70 plays a game. Sexton plays too much, and Lucian's played too much, and Markel was coming off a pretty good injury that has set for quite a while, and he's going out and had to play more plays because 2 guys that didn't get to play in the game. So you get too deep possibly and keep them fresh and let them move around. It should help out.
Coach, comment about Quinn Sharp.
Quinn's done a good job for us. He still has some work to do, but he's punted the ball effectively, and he did a nice job this week on our pooch punt where we're trying to down it inside the 10-yard line, and has benefited us greatly in the kickoff situation. When you can kick the ball off and it goes to the goal line, or even 2 to 3 yards deep, it's a big advantage, and he's really done a nice job there. We were just talking this morning that as he develops maturity and as he gets stronger throughout his career, we're really excited about his chances of kicking the ball deep in the end zone. And that allows you to or gives you some flexibility on your kickoff cover team. All that falls back to number of plays in the game.
You're talking about your depth, Mike. Already you've had to turn to backups at several key spots. Is that the way those guys have played for you? Is that kind of tell that you're a little further along than you've been in that regards?
We could be, John. I wish I wasn't having to do that. To be quite honest with you, you get a little concerned as a coach when you lose your 2 starting safeties for a game and you're putting guys in there that haven't repped nearly as much as the starters. But as a program, we have to continue to take steps forward. And I feel like that the maturity of our team on the football field from a depth standpoint, from an athleticism standpoint, and from a speed standpoint is getting better each year. And you're not going to go from being here to here. It takes time. But to answer your question, are we moving in the right direction? In my opinion, yes.